Hi, I'm kind of racing against the clock here, see if I can record a quick video before my baby daughter wakes up. Got her on the monitor just there. I've been watching some videos recently. For example, my friends are leaving the UK, should I go too? The UK is a dystopia and I am leaving in 2026. Leave broken Britain or stay and fight? Now, how did these things come up on my feed? First of all, I think it's because I've been watching a lot of videos about people who are doing really sort of positive things with their move out of the UK, moving to places like the Italian mountains, Portugal, Spain, buying land and building something, building a cabin. I find that stuff kind of inspiring, and at the same time as being inspired by that kind of stuff, I see what's going on around me in Britain and how difficult things are here, or increasingly becoming difficult, I should say. I was born in the 70s, and I think, you know, historically, sort of people look back at the 70s as being a pretty dismal time. I don't remember that, of course. I sort of gained consciousness in the 80s at some point and didn't know anything about politics. But then in the 90s, when I started being a bit more aware and self-aware, you know, I had this feeling that things in this country had improved and improved and improved. But I had no idea, absolutely no idea, that the 90s, the time when I was when I reached my 20s, that would be the peak of British society and culture and equality and financial success and freedom. I had absolutely no idea. I thought we were just on an upward trajectory. And then, you know, 2008, the financial crisis, which we've never recovered from, and then we decided to chuck salt in the wound with Brexit. And, you know, look at us now. We've had 14 years of the Tories making things harder for ordinary people, with wages stagnating and the cost of living just going up and up and up. And so we just about managed to get enough votes for the one and only party that has ever in the history of the UK government beaten the Tories. Labour. Labour is the only government that has ever beaten the Tories in this country. So what were we expecting? We weren't expecting this, were we? We were not expecting more of the same. We were not expecting more austerity. We were expecting some sort of kindness, maybe, and the management of the UK finances to swivel slightly towards making things slightly better for ordinary working people. And instead, what have we got? There's still the child benefit cap. You get money for one child, but not for your second child and not for your third. Absolutely not. Wages are still stagnating. The cost of living is still going up. There are promises about houses being built. More houses means more availability, means lower house prices. But how long does that take? It's going to take a very, very long time. Now, houses in particular, I think, is what inspires my the feeling that I want to move out of Britain. Right? I don't really want to move out of Britain. What I want is I want to own some land. I want to be able to build what I want to build on that land, and I want sunshine. Okay? If I could get those three things in this country, I would stay in this country for sure. But land price in this country is just ridiculous. You can go on YouTube and find people like, I don't want to live in Bulgaria. Nothing against Bulgaria, it's just a bit too close to Russia and Putin and all that stuff. But There's an English couple who 4 years ago, it was in the BBC News Today, they bought a house and farm that had been abandoned for 20 years. So they're renovating it and they live there with their 2 kids and 2 or 3 dogs. And they bought that for £7,000. That's it. No mortgage. They're not going to pay rent or mortgage for the rest of their lives because they've bought somewhere and they can live there now. Then there's a guy who's bought a place in the Italian mountains. He's renovating it himself. €29,000. What would £29,000 buy you in the UK? It wouldn't buy you a garage. It wouldn't buy you a shed. And if you did manage to make your, however, I don't know, at least 100,000 to buy a small plot of land that doesn't have a building on it already, you wouldn't be able to build something on it. The planning regulations are too tight. You just wouldn't be able to. There's no freedom in that regard in this country. And you can go other places like Alaska and Canada and buy land and, avoid the bears and build a cabin. No one's going to stop you. We just don't have that freedom here, and you just can't afford the land in the first place. So can't afford the land, can't build what you want, and the third thing was sunshine, right? We've had an extraordinary amount of sunshine this year, 2025, in March, April and May, right? Extraordinary amount. Who knows what June, July and August are going to be like? Always incredibly unpredictable in this country. And then what you can predict is that October, November, December, January and February, that's like 6 months. You can confidently predict that they're going to be pretty awful. You're not going to see the sun that often. There's going to be quite a lot of rain. It's going to be pretty cold. Now, okay, winter, fine, we can accept winter, it's just a fact of life. Doesn't have to be though, in a lot of countries it's kind of not. But then summer is just so incredibly unpredictable. Like 2023, when we moved into this house, it was a really nice summer. There was a few heat waves. We moved in April. We sat out there sipping Prosecco, celebrating the fact that we'd moved all our boxes in. But then last year, bloody awful summer, absolutely awful. I barely spent any time out there in the garden. What was the point? It was just grey, it was raining most of the time, it was cold, it was just rubbish. So how many summers have I got left in my life? And how many of them do I want to gamble away on the unpredictable nature of the weather in this country at the same time as not being able to afford to get on the property ladder and wages stagnating and prices going up? Also, what I meant to say earlier when we were talking about housing is the difference between the comfort level you might be able to achieve on the surface and what that really translates to in terms of assets. So I live in a nicely presented terraced house in West London. That sounds all right, doesn't it? And I've got a nice car. It's a BMW, and I've got a partner and 2 kids. And so, isn't that, I'm really genuinely happy about all of those things, right? So what am I complaining about? Well, you just have to scrape away the surface a little bit and look underneath. This house is a terraced house, a small terraced house that was almost definitely built as a council house just after World War II, right? Now it's valued at well over £500,000. And I don't own it. My partner and I rent it, and it costs a lot of money. So much so that we're thinking about moving out of London entirely. So we don't own the house, right? The car, it's a beautiful car, very well kept car. It's 20 years old this September. Sorry, just checking the baby monitor there. She's just having a stretch. She's all right. We can keep going. Don't own the car. No, sorry, I do own the car. Do own the car, but it's 20 years old and it was owned by someone else for the first 18 years of its life, right? But I love that car. It's an incredibly well-maintained car and I'm so proud to own it. I look at it and I just think, oh my God, look at that. It's a thing of beauty. Sorry, banging on about the car too much, right? But I can't believe I own something that great, but it only costs £3,500 because it's 20 years old. So it's not, you know, it's not an asset, neither is the house because I don't own it. So what have I got? You know, if I got ill as a self-employed person, if I got ill and couldn't work, I think I would run out of money if I was just relying on my own savings. I think I would run out of money in less than 3 months. I'd be lucky to last 3 months. With everything being so expensive. So what do I do about that? I'm thinking, look at places like Portugal, where there's mass migration, people moving out of the countryside and into the cities. There's abandoned villages there. There's abandoned houses. I'm thinking about buying a place out there with land so I can be outside, more connected to nature, get away from the city, get away from pollution. Have you had these thoughts? What do you think about staying in the UK as opposed to leaving? Have you thought about leaving and why? What do you think about the cost of living at the moment? How's your income stacking up against your outgoings? I'm not in a position to be able to leave anytime soon. I've got 2 kids to think about, but the plot begins. All right. Nice talking to you. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.